Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, June 29th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Criticism, controversy, and a lot of cash. And tonight, a major new development in the 101 Ash Street debacle, as the city attorney is now seeking legal action, citing secret payments in the lease-to-own building deal. More on this breaking story from KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen.
This building behind me has cost city taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. Now city officials say they think they have a plan to get back at least some of that money. Now, former Mayor Kevin Faulconer sought to rent and eventually purchase the building in an effort to save money on office space for city workers. But the deal was a disaster. It needed tens of millions of dollars in renovations. And once that work started, asbestos got dislodged into the air, and the building has been uninhabitable ever since. Today, City Attorney Mara Elliott said a real estate broker named Jason Hughes was advising the city while also getting paid to represent the building's sellers. She said in a statement today, it's now clear why the 101 Ash Street deal has been shrouded in secrecy. At its heart is a massive betrayal of the public trust and a clear violation of California's anti-corruption laws. The city attorney says Jason Hughes received $9.4 million from the company that sold the building, though he claimed to be working on the city's behalf. Elliott's lawsuit seeks to void the transaction and recoup more than $44 million spent on this building and another one where Hughes acted in a similar capacity. Now, lawsuits of this nature can typically take years to be resolved. In the meantime, the city says it will continue investigating this deal for any further evidence of wrongdoing. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Nearly 250,000 low-income people in California now have access to low or no-cost health care that didn't have it before. As KPBS reporter John Carroll explains, the new state budget expands Medi-Cal to cover everyone 50 and older, including undocumented people.
What a great day in California.
Los Angeles State Senator Maria Elena Durazo could barely contain her joy Tuesday morning as she kicked off a Zoom conference to talk about a major achievement, the expansion of Medi-Cal, a $1.3 billion expenditure over the next few years.
We have taken a huge step forward by securing health care access for 250,000 Californians.
In addition to the expansion of coverage, the new budget also eliminates the asset test for Medi-Cal eligible seniors. Before the change, if seniors had $2,000 or more in savings, they were not eligible for Medi-Cal.
This is amazing, and it's a wonderful step for our undocumented families.
Nancy Maldonado is the president and CEO of the Chicano Federation, which serves about 25,000 low-income families in the San Diego region every year. She says making Medi-Cal available to all low-income people 50 and older is especially important as we emerge from the pandemic.
Health and wellness is so intertwined, and just having access to healthcare, being able to have a healthcare home for our families, particularly undocumented families, can really be life-changing.
Among the undocumented, Maldonado says essential workers are especially deserving of quality health care, people on the front line during the pandemic, including those who pick our food.
They're out in 117-degree heat, still going to work, still doing the things that need to do so that you and I have food on our table.
The state's unexpectedly strong financial condition is partly what made the expansion of Medi-Cal possible, but supporters say there is still work to be done. They say now is the time for California to extend coverage to everyone.
Our struggle is not done until we can end the exclusion by expanding health care to all who call this state home.
A bill to accomplish that does exist. It's Assembly Bill 4, but it's been around since May of 2019, a reminder of how difficult it is to pass this kind of legislation and what a big deal this new expansion of Medi-Cal really is. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Also included in California's latest budget, rebates of up to $1,100 for most tax-paying adults, free pre-K for 4-year-olds, as well as free breakfast and lunch for all public school students. Governor Newsom also signed into law an extension of the state's eviction moratorium, which was set to expire tomorrow. Today, the San Diego County Board of Supervisors adopted a $7.2 billion budget for the next fiscal year. It calls for spending roughly $2.7 billion for health and human services, $2.2 billion for public safety, and $600 million for environmental programs. Money is also included for programs aimed at reducing homelessness and reforming the justice system. Pandemic restrictions have mostly been lifted across California, and summer tourists are packing San Diego County. But many restaurants and hotels can't find the staff to keep up with the rise in demand. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer explores the situation in North County.
Many hotels and restaurants across the U.S. are struggling to hire workers they lost during the pandemic, including here in San Diego County. Eric Soto manages Encinitas Cafe and has been working there for over a decade. He says they've had to limit the number of tables they seat and incentivize job applicants.
We've, just bumped the starting wage a couple dollars, especially with minimum wage going up back in January. And, you have to, in turn, raise prices. Our margins are, small at restaurants. They're not that large. So if you raise wages a little bit, you have to unfortunately pass it on to the consumer.
And just down the road at Honey's Bistro and Bakery, they're facing a similar problem, according to manager Corelli Sanchez. She says the problems coincide with rising food costs during their busiest season.
It's something drastic needs to happen. We need to have more staff, and we're actually starting to train somebody new tomorrow, so we're hoping it starts picking up and more people want to apply now, because then that's not something that we're going to want to do for the rest of the summer.
And in San Diego's hotel and resort industry, many of the trends are the same. Anthony Belliff works at Omni La Costa Resort and Spa in Carlsbad. He says guests are coming back in big numbers, but they've reduced capacity and changed some hours of operation for the time being in order to deliver the same experience.
So in our peak seasons, we would typically have about 1,000 to 1,200 people at most. And obviously, due to COVID-19 and the shutdown and all the restrictions in business, that impacted us to the point where right now, even after many months of slowly reopening things, we're at about 650 employees right now.
These business owners aren't exactly sure why they can't find enough workers. Some say they might be worried about contracting COVID-19. Others mention that employees may have left the industry for more stable and flexible jobs. And some say they might still be happy to stay at home with extra government benefits still available. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Everyone should keep wearing masks indoors, regardless of vaccination status in Los Angeles County. That is the word from health officials there amid concerns about the Delta variant. It's not a mandate, but rather a strong recommendation to prevent the spread of the highly transmissible variant of the coronavirus. The World Health Organization is making the same recommendation, but the CDC and state government have not changed their masking guidelines. Dr. Christian Ramers told KPBS Midday Edition, "We've moved from government mandates to individual responsibility." And today, the county said it is not changing mask guidance. In a statement, Supervisor Chair Nathan Fletcher said the best action you can take to protect yourself is to get vaccinated, adding almost 95% of Delta variant cases are from those not fully vaccinated. A spot where thousands of San Diegans got their COVID-19 vaccine is now closed. Scripps Health wrapped up its work today at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. It is the last vaccination super site to close. Scripps will continue to make vaccines available at its hospitals and its clinics. More than 115,000 COVID-19 shots were given at the Del Mar site since February. And there are still plenty of places to get a coronavirus vaccination. If you need one, you can find all the information on our website, kpbs.org. Just click on the vaccines link on our homepage. San Diego has some of the highest death rates for people in custody at county jails. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has more on local activists who are calling for accountability for what they say is negligence at county jails.
More than 150 people have died in the custody of the San Diego Sheriff's Department since 2009.
With support from local activists, Assemblymember Akilah Weber is asking for transparency at San Diego County jails. Weber will be requesting a full audit of the San Diego County Sheriff's Office to the state's Legislative Audit Committee Wednesday. Community activist Yusuf Miller held a press conference Tuesday outside Las Colinas detention facility where 24-year-old Elisa Serna died back in November. He's hoping locals will take part in Wednesday's hearing.
We are standing up for Elisa Serna, who lost her life right here in Las Colinas Detention Center.
Serna's family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit for what happened to their daughter while in custody at the facility. A 2019 investigation by the San Diego Union Tribune found that the county's jail mortality rate is among the highest in California.
We're here to say that her life matters and all the people who lost their lives in custody matters. Of course, we're not talking about cancer deaths. Of course, we're not talking about stroke deaths. We're talking about preventable negligence.
Genevieve Jones-Wright, founder of Community Advocates for Just and Moral Governance, says incarceration should not be a death sentence.
But I also demand that the district attorney of our fair county prosecute the sheriff deputies who are responsible for the deaths of Elisa Serna.
The state's Legislative Audit Committee hearing is scheduled for Wednesday.
Send in your testimonies of in-custody deaths that has happened in this area.
Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
The search for survivors continues at the site of the partially collapsed condo building in South Florida. Today, a 12th body was found and 149 people are still missing. But just what caused the building to crumble? Isabel Rosales has the latest.
It's day 6 of the difficult and dangerous search through the rubble of the Champlain Tower South condos in Surfside, Florida. And while the pancake-style collapse left few voids for potential survivors, rescuers and officials are not giving up.
Nobody's giving up hope here. Nobody's stopping. The work goes on.
The dangerous search and rescue work is complicated by bursts of rain. More than 800 responders from 60 agencies, including rescuers from around the world, are working 12-hour shifts around the clock.
We're dedicated to get everyone out of that pile of rubble.
The search for a cause of the collapse also continues. CNN has obtained a letter in which the building's board president outlined substantial decay since a 2018 inspection. The letter says, in part, the concrete deterioration is accelerating and observable damage has gotten, quote, significantly worse. Investigators say it will take months or longer to learn why exactly the building collapsed. President Joe Biden is going to Surfside on Thursday, where he will meet with families and first responders. But for those hoping for any signs of positive news, the wait goes on.
We also are very aware of the reality of the situation and the time. I mean, it's day 6. And, you know, the fact that they aren't finding people is a tremendous concern.
In Surfside, Florida, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
2 years ago, San Diego County set aside $1.5 million to help backcountry residents make their homes more fire resistant. But last year, county officials decided to spend the money elsewhere. iNews Source reporter Camille Van Canel explains.
The Cedar Fire tore through this region in the northern outskirts of Lakeside in 2003. The fire's flying embers got into David Ross's home and burnt it down, but he rebuilt. To avoid losing everything again, he had new ember-resistant vents installed this month.
We're paranoid about fire around here. You know, after you get burned out one time, it's like you're pretty alert. You're pretty aware, right? So we try to keep the property really good.
County supervisors wanted to help more people protect their homes against wildfires by giving out grants to replace old vents. But the project got scrapped after the county failed to find a contractor to run it. Officials decided the money would be better spent on other fire safety projects like clearing brush instead. Ross was able to pay for his vents through an SCG&E program that only some backcountry residents qualify for. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource reporter Camille Von Cannell.
iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS.
Some much needed moisture slowly going to creep westward and perhaps bring a couple showers and thunderstorms into the higher terrain. Likely in the mountains is where most of that is going to be confined to. However, you could see a little bit more in the way of cloud cover even down into the metro. Temperatures for the most part, though, are going to remain above average as we go through these next couple of days. For tonight in Oceanside, you're getting down to 65 degrees. Chula Vista getting down to 64. Borrego Springs, 76 degrees. Again, Mount Laguna, maybe seeing a little bit of thunderstorm activity out there during the overnight period. Big picture showing this area of high pressure. It's kind of directing the moisture further and further west. It's kind of hard to say whether it's going to make it as far west as San Diego. I don't think so. However, you'll likely still see a little bit more in the way of cloud cover, especially during the early morning hours. That thickening marine layer will bring a little bit of low-hanging clouds and fog. So 82 degrees for that daytime high in Escondido for tomorrow. Ramona getting up to 88. Still talking about the heat in Borrego Springs, although it's not quite as hot as it has been in recent days. And again, timing out your Wednesday for you. Here you go. You can see a little bit of some green popping up there in the higher terrain through the day on Wednesday. And big picture again showing scattered storms, mainly a little bit more in the interior sections here of the Southwest, but some of that could creep a little bit further west and again bring a few spotty showers, maybe a thunderstorm into the higher terrain. Your Wednesday near the coast, temperatures are in the low 70s. We're going to climb up into the mid 70s though over the next couple of days. Not a whole lot of change there. Inland again, mid 80s on the board, a little bit of patchy fog early in the morning on Thursday. Otherwise, plenty of sunshine for the rest of the weekend heading into your 4th of July weekend. In the mountains, temperatures go from the upper 70s down into the low 70s this 4th of July weekend, and the heat is on in the desert. We're going to be climbing back up to 108 and eventually 112 by your 4th of July. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
Another twist in California's recall election. Governor Gavin Newsom is suing Secretary of State Shirley Weber, who he appointed just months ago. Weber is refusing to correct a filing mistake that could result in Newsom appearing on the ballot without Democratic Party listed next to his name. Yesterday, state lawmakers passed a bill that would waive certain recall rules and allow the election to be held earlier than expected. Newsom immediately signed it into law. Republican lawmakers argued the governor should not be able to change procedures affecting his own election. Fireworks could be returning to La Jolla on July 4th if organizers can overcome a legal challenge from people concerned about sea lions. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has the details.
La Jolla Point is one of those rare places where nature offers people a glimpse of life usually tucked out of view. Sea lions are comfortable enough here to give birth and to raise their young. Pups can't swim right after birth, and they don't do it well for several months, but they can be seen snuggling and playing with their moms on the rocks. Most of the adoring crowds keep their distance, but some like to sneak closer for a better look or picture.
People are often mostly surprised that there's so little guidance and there's so little oversight of this area.
Carol Toye is encouraged that San Diego's promised better signage and a more visible ranger presence, but the Sierra Club worries about another threat.
We are greatly alarmed about the fireworks.
Club's Richard Miller says local boosters want to bring back a 4th of July fireworks display, something that was a staple here for decades. Those fireworks will be launched from the park right beside the Sea Lion Rookery.
If they do have fireworks here, will flush every single sea lion off the point and their pups And once again, there's the opportunity that we lose an entire generation of sea lions just from having fireworks here.
But La Jolla boosters say the concerns are unfounded. Deborah Marengo is the director of the La Jolla Community Fireworks Foundation. She says the fireworks display is an important community building event.
Everyone here in La Jolla loves where we live, our community, our environment. If we ever thought that we were doing any type of harm by celebrating our Independence Day, by shooting off fireworks, that show would not go on.
But the show hasn't actually happened in La Jolla since 2017. Her group fought off legal challenges in 2010 and 2014 that raised concerns about the environmental impact of the show.
There was really no merit. There was no proof that the fireworks, which happens one day a year on July 4th and is a 25-minute show, really has never caused any harm.
The lawsuits never canceled the fireworks display, but Marengo says the legal fight impacted fundraising. There simply wasn't enough money for shows in 2018 and 2019.
End of 2019, beginning of 20, some members of the community wanted to bring it back for 2020. And we had been working on fundraising and we were ready to go with the 2020 show, and then the pandemic hit.
Marengo says the show is under fire from another lawsuit that she says is the same as earlier challenges. But the Animal Protection and Rescue League sees it differently. Attorney Brian Peace, who sits on the group's board, filed suit in Superior Court.
There's a marine mammal rookery right there, which has only been since 2019 declared under federal law to exist. So prior to 2019, it wasn't the same legal landscape. So now we have the official designation of it being a sea lion rookery. Whether National Marine Fisheries Service is going to enforce that or not, I don't know. The Marine Mammal Protection Act does not have a private right of action.
Peace says violating a federal law is seen as an unfair business practice in California, and that's the legal avenue they're pursuing. The National Marine Fisheries Service has no opinion on the legal action or the fireworks show. It could be many months before the lawsuit is resolved. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the new COVID threat. We discuss the ongoing pandemic recovery and the Delta variant with Dr. Anthony Fauci. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Today, the first trolley cars glided along the tracks of the mid-coast extension of the UC San Diego Blue Line. The new Tecolote station is one of the added stops on the line from downtown up to University Town Center. Construction started in 2016. The extension won't be in operation until November, but today marks the beginning of the train testing phase. SANDAG Chair and Encinitas Mayor Catherine Blake Spear says it is an exciting opportunity for North County commuters.
This is a line that goes to the north, goes to UCSD, goes to the VA Medical Center, goes to the jobs up there, and it'll allow people to transport themselves to the things they need to do, their medical appointments, their work, their school.
MTS is taking over the project from SANDAG and is overseeing the testing to ensure everything is ready for full operation in the fall. AAA says more than 43 million Americans will hit the road this 4th of July weekend. And if you're one of them, it might be tough to find gas. A shortage of tank truck drivers along with travel surge is causing supply chain bottlenecks. Northern California and the Pacific Northwest are already reporting gas shortages. The trade group National Tank Truck Carriers reports somewhere between 20 to 25% of tank trucks are sitting idle across the country. There were driver shortages before the pandemic, but the lockdowns forced many drivers to retire or even change jobs. Back in business. The first cruise ship sailed out of a U.S. port over the weekend after sitting idle during the pandemic. As Mandy Gaither reports, cruise industry leaders hoping they're heading toward recovery.
Some 15 months after the pandemic halted the cruise industry.
I did cartwheels just a minute ago. You missed me. That's how excited I am.
Celebrity Edge set sail once again from the U.S., the first ship to do so with a green light from the CDC since the start of the pandemic. Operating at 40% guest capacity, the cruise line also claimed to have a 99% vaccination rate on board.
I hope they have it figured out, and I hope that they keep us all safe.
The CDC recently lowered its cruise travel warning for vaccinated passengers. The agency still advises that all unvaccinated travelers avoid going on cruise ships.
This has been a horrible 15 months, and the losses are huge.
But with this ship setting sail, cruise industry leaders hope to be heading toward recovery. Aboard Celebrity Edge, staggered arrival and departure times help to avoid large crowds. Most passenger cabins are spaced out, and crew members have their own cabins because of reduced capacity. Buffet meals are still being offered, but served by crew rather than self-service. The ship also has additional medical resources on board in case of an outbreak, including capacity for 33 patients and 4 ICU beds.
The evidence is that there is a pent-up demand. The evidence is people want to get out of their homes. People want to go places and want to do things. And so I think the future is very bright.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The country's premier action sports competition is coming back to San Diego. The X Games will begin on July 14th. Last year's event was wiped out by the pandemic. There will be some modifications this year, the biggest being no fans in attendance. Events will be held in multiple locations, including motocross in Ramona. Vista will host skateboarding and BMX. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. I hope you have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The more contact you have with more individuals,